Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Second Legacy, and I forgot, this guy's Tim. And thank you so much for stopping by. Now, we love doing Second Legacy because the entire point is to pass the blessing of the Second Amendment along to the next generation. And that's what we do here every single day. And if you want to see the channel grow, we'd love to have you. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. We need all of you to get in here and share it, and also subscribe to help it grow. But today's content is a live call-in. So we're going to have a conversation with a caller, a viewer of this channel. And if you want to be on the channel, in the description box below, there is a Google Doc. Make sure you fill it out, and we'll see if we can make that happen. But for right now, let's jump in. Michael, we are calling in. Thank you so much. What you got for us, my man?
Hey, what's going on, guys? So just jumping right into it. I recently saw an interview on Forbes magazine between Brittany Lewis, who's an editor, and Representative Landsman, who's a Democrat out of Ohio. And it was pertaining to the Nashville situation. Basically, he proposed that the assault weapons bans that are being passed statewide or national, implying that, he believes that there should be a mandatory buyback implemented through the Department of Defense, and that all semi-automatic weapons need to be confiscated through the Department of Defense and distributed to Ukraine and our own military, because he believed that's where they belong. And that to me was just frightening to hear. And I just want to know, like, how would that even be implemented, and how would we fight back against something like that, just in case, you know, let's say an assault weapons ban is passed and now everybody thinks, oh, well, they're grandfathered in, but not necessarily when you have guys like this who are saying, hey, no, we want it to be a felony if you own any of these semi-automatic weapons or feeding devices, and if you don't turn them in or mandatorily buy them back, you could face 20 years in prison. So, I mean, it was just terrifying to hear that. And I just hope to God that something like that never gets passed. But it seems to me that in today's day and age, it's just more and more common to hear craziness like that.
Yeah, no. So first of all, that's a really good question. That's a very complex topic. I have a feeling me and Tim are both going to go ham on this one. But Tim, you want to start it off real quick,
Yeah.
and then I'll follow up?
So great question. Look, there's no IQ test to get into Congress. So we have a lot of very stupid representatives. And him going out there saying this is just, it's classic far left lunacy, right? Where they think that, first of all, the guns you have are even available for a buyback. Well, you didn't sell them to me to begin with, so they're not yours to buy back. That whole notion is silly. The cost of something like that
everywhere
would be outrageous, and nobody's going to sign off on that. Secondly, getting the Department of Defense involved, there's this little thing called the Posse Comitatus Act. You can't do that. Department of Defense implies military. You can't use the military as a police force in the United States. It's unconstitutional. So everything he said is just so whacked out and far out there that it really has very little chance of passing. But you never can say it will not happen in the future, because as you noted, we're getting crazier and crazier in this country. We're diverging from our constitutional and freedom-loving background, and it seems like the younger and younger generations are moving more and more down the path of socialism, Marxism. And with that comes heavy-handed government restrictions and the government micromanaging every aspect of your life. Now, those of us that lived through the Cold War and remember communism and have people that grew up and lived under the communist regimes of the world, we know better. But these ideologues that don't have any experience in the world don't know any better, because they're just promised free stuff. And who doesn't want free stuff? People that are simple-minded love free stuff.
Like, you know,
yeah,
like everybody in my age group is totally for that. They're totally for a buyback. I actually was talking to a friend of mine who's a little bit younger than me. He's like 23, 24-ish. And he goes to, I live in Florida. He goes to FAU, you know, big liberal college. And he was totally for that. He saw the interview. I showed him the video, and he thought it was the greatest idea ever. And that's where It's just my generation is going to push this forward. I know, Braden, you always say you're passing this along to the next generation. What if that next generation doesn't want it? What if they're like, hey, we want these guns confiscated. We don't like our Second Amendment rights. We don't even care to understand the Constitution because they think it's all stemmed from racism. So I can't, I hate what's going on.
No, I got you, dude. So listen, that is such an excellent follow-up question that you just threw out there. Yeah, we're going to pass it on. What if the generation, I'm in my 30s, right? So what if the generation of the 30s and the 40s pass on this gift of freedom and the next generation says we don't want it? That's a very interesting perspective. But here's what I will tell you. The calls that we've done on this show, one of the things about the live callers on this show is we wanted to get into the population and hear their genuine thoughts. And one of the things that's showing up is there's actually more younger 20s callers being inquisitive to talk about things than I thought there was going to be. So when you're going down this road, now you're in Florida. So if you're in Florida, depending on where you are, there's definitely a different dynamic. Like, for example, if you're in Miami, you're going to hear a lot of probably more the left leaning. You don't need this. You should never have this. If you're in Orlando, probably kind of the same thing. But however, if you go into the Panhandle or you go into some of the more rural areas, you're going to hear the exact opposite. Florida traditionally is a purple state. It has lurched to the right currently, but traditionally it is a purple state. So you have an influence of gun control. You have an influence of gun freedom. In different states in the country, if you zoom out, I promise you the standard is not that. If you're in larger cities, it will skew your opinion of the 20s, the 19, the 18-year-olds. They don't even want this freedom that they have. I think that is a microcosm effect. I don't think that is everywhere. And the other piece is, if anyone is willing to even have a conversation and listen about why, you're going to end up on the way of, yeah, we're going to have these Second Amendment rights. And that's just on winning the hearts and minds. We're not even going into the conversation around the military can't do this, as Tim mentioned. By the way, you have to have 2/3 of the states to sign off on abolishing the Second Amendment. Good luck. Because the only population centers that you have are the 8 or 9 far left states. And that's all you've got. And you lean on population, which is one of the reasons they try to get rid of the Electoral College. They try to lean heavily on population, but our founders put the system that they have through the Electoral College in place to prevent just that. So from a standpoint of taking all of our firearms, may some of them want to do that? Yes. Are there institutional blocking or objects to block that? Yes, there are, absolutely. So it's not as fatalistic as they don't want it, we're not going to pass it on. It's much more of a maintaining the system of preservation of our rights. And that's kind of where we start. Because you're right, though. There are some younger kids who just flat out, nothing bad could happen because I'm in America and we're the greatest country in the world. And no great countries have ever fallen from freedom to tyranny until you open a history book.
There's two things that I want to add to the conversation. First of all, what is it with these crazies saying they're going to take American guns away from Americans and give them to Ukrainians? So why are Ukrainian citizens okay to have our guns, but we're not okay to have our guns? And what's going on in Ukraine is precisely why we have a Second Amendment. Because if something were to happen like that here, we already have the guns. So, I mean, their argument is so comical. Right. No. It's so comical, but it's not funny because they're serious. And secondly, the gun control narrative goes hand in hand with the culture war that we're experiencing, right? So part of the plan is to get the younger generation to turn their back on their rights. So it's a two-pronged attack. They're trying to actively take our rights away, and then they're programming our children in schools that they now control from, K-12 all the way through college. Now they're programming our children to hate their own freedom, to hate their own country, to hate their own military. And so that is what they're trying to do. They're trying to program the youth so that they'll willingly hand over their rights. And they're promising them a bunch of free stuff, which isn't free. We all know that too. So it's really sad to see what's going on. And what's even more saddening is the fact that so many people fall for it. There's not enough critical thinking left in the American population for people to go, why do they want to do this again? There's, historically speaking, Americans have been distrustful of their government for a reason. And
100%.
they're trying to swap that around so that we love our government. Our government is our new religion. Actual religion is now bad. Worship the government, we'll give you everything you need.
Well,
and that's what these kids are buying into, and it's scary Orwellian stuff. But, you know, sometimes fiction is crazy. I mean, sometimes reality is crazier than fiction, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Yep. But, you know, the interesting thing about what you just hit on, Tim, is this is actually an exact model that we've seen over the past 100 to 150 years. European countries, Asian countries, every country, it always starts with giving away free stuff. The government will take care of you. There's no reason to be safe for yourself. The government will provide that. Will provide your needs. Will provide everything. And wouldn't you know it, all of a sudden religion is no longer important because we'll provide you everything you need. After all, we have science. So all of these things are literally step by step how you institute socialism and into communism. All of these things are built in. There are written examples in history of how this works. We're seeing it step by step. They're doing it cut by cut, and they're just now starting to accelerate. But those are awesome points that you just brought up, sir.
Well, outstanding.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, man. It truly means a lot. If you would like to be on the show, a great way to do that is just to check out the Google Docs in the video description down below. Get in that Google Doc, fill out the application. We'll give you a call, get you on the show, and you can ask your question. And until then, we'll talk to you guys soon.